Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 681. This is 681 of the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and I hope this podcast is finding you well wherever you may be. I hope this podcast is finding you well. How am I? All good, all things considered. All good, all things considered. You know the vibes, you know the blood clot vibes. Usually, today, for lack of, for the sake of clarity, I'm filming this on a Friday evening. I should be outside somewhere, snuzzling my nose into some white powder, inhaling some tablets through my flipping esophagus or whatever it may be, and guzzling under a tap of beer. But instead, here I am making the podcast and live streaming because you know what? I'm a changed man. I'm trying to change every single day. It's usually a Monday. I love to do a little turning of the leaf and see if I can go through 7 days of non-debaucherous activities. And so far, I'm 5 days in, 2 more to go. I'm holding on. And as long as I can hold on for the flipping hallowed 9 days, because they say it's like, the starting blocks of changing habits is around the 9 days mark, then I'm free to kind of go on my merry way and everything becomes easy. I'm a little bit, privileged in that way, and I have a little bit more of an advantage in that way because I don't have a big social circle of friends. I think if I did, I'd be a little bit more, I'd have a little bit more chances to slip and slide. But because it's just me, and I only have to focus on myself and me and me and me, it makes it far more easier. But I did feel a little bit better about myself recently. I randomly started posting on IG again because I find IG kind of boring, and I've been on Twitter a lot, and I'm finding Twitter experience to be really, really fun. I think ever since Elon has taken over, it's gotten a little bit, crazy and a little bit like the Wild Wild West over there. There's a few, hard R, N words, flying around way too often for me. There's probably a little bit too much nudity for me sometimes. If you like a couple of weird stuff, your algorithms are popping up some mad stuff, and you can sometimes see some full, HD 4K, adult materials on there, which can be a little bit much to see on like a random Wednesday morning. But apart from that, I can't deny, man, like the freedom just to kind of be yourself and just try to talk shit and just have some fun and joke around with some other, grown people is somewhat of a nice experience. I've been enjoying it far more than IG, and it's a shame because IG was always my kind of first social media love, maybe apart from MySpace, because I loved the idea of sharing pictures and stuff and using filters and kind of having this really nice public visual diary of your life, the ups and the downs and whatnot. And I felt like over the years, for whatever reason, IG turned into like the highlight reel of your life instead of actually a representation or reflection of what you're kind of up to, and maybe just you kind of flexing your photography muscles. Now it's just turned into a far side excuse of a TikTok imitation. But that aside, it's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere either. So why not just jump back on it and just do the things that I would like to see people do on there? So I'm excited to share a few more pics, sharing a few more stories, and just having some fun. And one thing I've been doing, quite honestly, which has been good, I've been doing some stuff which is kind of, you would maybe ascribe to maybe to shit posting, but I guess it's like shit IG posting or IG posting. I don't know, whatever you term whatever the term of that word is. But what I'm doing now on IG is that I'm purposely posting things on my stories, little memes, little comments and whatnot that I know will piss off some people that I follow, because I think my IG has a more, I don't know, my IG probably leans a lot more left, even though I'm not really into politics or whatever, and I don't identify either way on a political spectrum. I've definitely got way more people who would identify as like left-leaning. So I'd post some stuff on there with the sole intention of just annoying someone. And because I'm, what's that thing called? I don't have any like self-confidence issues. I'm not insecure and shit, so I don't ever give a crap or care if anyone unfollows me or blocks me. It just is what it is, isn't it? Social media is what it is. If you want to use it a certain way and you don't want to see some certain content, then cool, do what you want to do. It's your prerogative. But it's just nice to know in the back of my head that the things that I'm posting have potentially got me like unfollowed or blocked. It's just hilarious to know that you could post something innocuous on your fucking on your IG story, and somebody could get so annoyed they'll be like, you know what, fuck this, I'm unfollowing, fuck this, I'm blocking, restricting, hide. I've living love that shit. It honestly fills me with joy. So I would love to know. I wish there was a way to kind of check how often someone's unfollowing you, or how often people unfollow you, or when they unfollow you after which post. But I kind of have a feeling which one I'm doing at the moment. So if you want to see some fun stuff, some cool stuff, some hot stuff, some cheeky stuff, definitely check out my Instagram, which is my name, Agostinho Zinga. So Instagram.com/Agostinho Zinga. Search me on there, all one word. You're able to find me. Nice and cool, nice and calm. Check my IG stories, and you shall see me going flipping crazy on there, turning my IG stories into like old school Tumblr. Know what I mean? Throwing some stuff on there, you know, throwing some lobs on there, getting people to question my flipping faith, getting people to question my sexuality, getting them to question my political leanings, getting them to question who I like as an artist, my view on society, everything. Just throw stuff out there. Shit post, shit post, shit post. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been flipping loving every minute of it. One thing I haven't been loving is been checking social. Now back on IG, I realize this is why I don't like to flip and check IG. IG is the home, is the flipping center of flipping FOMO. Like, that is the cathedral of FOMO, is flipping Instagram. And now that it's festival season, I'm seeing all these amazing clips and pictures of people having a blast out there in all these festivals and stuff, and it's got me thinking, damn son, I need to be out there in some flipping dusty field somewhere in a horrible tent, smelling like BO because I haven't showered for 4 days, surrounded by twitchy white people who are all wearing Dr. Martens and like Adidas shorts, but they think they look really cool. As I'm there on my own, sipping on my little drink that I'm flipping pre-mixed myself, sweating my face off the ketamine I just had on a coach. I need to be there. I need to be amongst my fellow delinquents, my fellow, my fellow flipping caners. I need to be there, man. There's some good ones happening. Melt's happening at the moment out there in Berlin. There's another one called is it called Gotwood? Is it called Gotwana? I think it's called Let me see his name. I think it's called Gotwana. Let me see. Gotwana Festival. I think it's in Berlin, which I've been recommended to go to a few. No, so it's called Gondwana. Nation of Gondwana is happening too in a few weeks, 21st to 23rd of July. So I'm looking forward to going that really. But this one called Melt Festival out there in Germany, not Berlin, because it's a bit out of Berlin, looks flipping fantastic. They've really done well in terms of selling the festival too, because I think the other one that I want to go to in flipping Holland called Dre Molen, I think that's what the name of it's called. They don't really have the bestest social media posts to find out what the vibe is like. They've got some good after movies, but Instagram, social media wise, there's not a lot of content on there to make you feel like, oh my God, I want to go. But I'm still going because the lineup is sick. Everything's back to back, loads of DJs. It's going to be flipping mad. And it's in Amsterdam, which is a place I've never been to. So I want to just kind of, kill two birds with one stone. But this Melt Festival, they sell it really well. I know it's been running for a long time. I think it's like in its 25th year or something. So I'm not saying anything that no one doesn't know. But the IG, they've done a really good job of showcasing what the festival's about. They've got this girl basically, acting as a host, parading around doing her thing. Loads of clips from stages and stuff of people playing. And I like it, man. It looks like an absolute vibe. Let me see if it plays on my flipping horrendous computer. I'm going to quickly load up the IG now and see if it actually works. Let's see. Via the Melt Festival, all one word, IG, Instagram account. Let's see if we can check out what the vibe is saying. But last time I did check early this morning, it was looking great. Let's put the sound on. Let's see what it says. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's not having it ready. But you can see what I mean, right? Another one. I'm gonna take a sign off from there, but you know what I mean, right? You can see the vibes that people are doing, what's happening and stuff, and all this stuff is giving me the most FOMO in the world. Seeing all these amazing pictures of people having a great time out there at these flipping amazing festivals. But one thing that I realized quite quickly, I was like, you know what? I'm not really equipped yet once it comes to like handling the weather of what to do, because I haven't been to a camping festival in a very long time. And one thing that happens, especially during the summers, you usually go, it's like during the daytime, it's like incredibly warm, incredibly hot. And you have to somehow manage that hotness by usually, trying to find yourself as close to the beach as possible, getting some shade, sorry. But the first thing you should do is definitely get out your tent. There's a temptation usually when it's really warm. I've seen a couple of videos and some vlogs of some girls who went to festivals from a couple of years ago, and they were doing the same thing where it was just getting too warm and they're just like sticking to their tent. But that's actually the wrong thing to do. You should actually try, if you can, to get out of your tent and to just go near the water. If you're at a festival that's got a beach, try and get as close to the beach as possible. Find some shade, have a couple of showers or whatnot. But that's what you should be doing. You should be out and about as opposed to staying in one place in the tent, because you're gonna get fucking cooked like a strip of bacon. And then the other thing that's annoying about it is that in the evenings, usually the temperature drops, so you have to kind of pack, for like 2 weather conditions at once. But usually what most people do is they usually just firm it. Usually just pack your hot clothes, your summer warm clothes, and then whatever happens in the evening, you just take it. So if it rains, it rains, and then if it's cold, it's cold. You just keep dancing, or you take a couple more pills to kind of warm you up or whatever it may be. But I'm really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to go. Again, like I said, my first one is probably going to be that Dre Molen festival out there in flipping Amsterdam, which I'm really looking forward to going to, because I've never actually been to flipping Amsterdam in the first place. So it'll be a good chance to kind of, to kill 2 birds with one stone. But Melt looks flapping like a rave. So I think most likely next year, planning all that stuff, because you have to plan all this stuff years in advance with me, because I'm a little bit of a procrastinator. I'm probably gonna add Nation of Gondwana onto my list as well for places to go, because unfortunately with the UK, although we have great festivals here, you have to spend so much money to go, like places like Houghton and stuff, which as much as I love it, I'd much rather pay £500 altogether for the ticket, the accommodation, the flights, all that malarkey, maybe a bit of spending money to go abroad, than just stay here at home base kind of thing. I'd much prefer to do it, especially if I've got the flexibility with jobs and stuff to kind of do so, because I'm working from home or I'm doing part-time stuff. Like, I might as well take advantage of it. So I'm definitely going to do that going forward. But yeah, Melt Festival looks great. Obviously you can't see the videos as good on here on my side because my comp is a bit of a mad one, but you get the idea of what I'm looking at. You get the idea of what I'm looking at. And then on top of that, talking about what I'm looking at, I randomly stumbled across a friend of a friend's Instagram account, and it kind of made me feel a lot better about my decisions to basically chill out on the going out, chill out on the getting on it, and just become a little bit more grounded and grown up and stuff. Because I saw some people who, I'm very close with and stuff before, I used to go out with before, having a good time out there in East London, essentially doing the same thing that we used to do back in the day, and they're still doing it now. Don't get me wrong, they look like they were having a good time, they look like they were having a blast, and if anything, I was feeling a little bit jelly that I hadn't seen these guys in a very, very long time, and I would love to hang out with them again sometime. But I can't deny, her, thinking back to like carrying that same level of pace that I was on, back then, a few years ago in Dawson and Shoreditch and stuff, it fills me with dread. Like being that guy that was walking down, Brick Lane with a bottle of flipping wine in my hand and stuff, thinking that I look cool, and trying to do that again nowadays, because I've been out for like 4 days and I'm rolling still on this fucking Sunday afternoon. I can't do that, and I can't picture myself doing this. I'm kind of happy that era's over. But it was interesting to see that those people still exist and they're still doing the same thing. And, part of me doesn't blame them, because I've spoken before about this before on this pod, that, it's really difficult to have hobbies as an adult. I think it's something people don't really speak about enough often, but it is. So if you do find something that legitimately allows you to meet new people, fills up your time, gets you out of the house, even if it's destructive, I understand why you continue to do so. I really understand why you continue to do so. So I don't mind it in the slightest. So I saw those guys doing what they're doing. It kind of made me feel like, what? I'm kind of glad I don't do that, but also more power to you guys, more power. But yeah, big up everybody in chat here. Who else said Gluten Free Taco? Big up you, Gluten Free Taco. Big up Cheese Food here. Big up Super Jello as well here, and everybody else tuning in live. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But then on top of that, what also made me think about this whole thing, right, was this. I was randomly looking back and thinking, what can I do in terms of an approach? I'm trying to refresh myself in terms of approach, a kind of grown up, drug taking, drink inducing approach to kind of life, apart from what I usually do, which is kind of abstain for a long time and then go crazy and then abstain and then go crazy, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just trying to think of it more as a methodology and a kind of way of life. And then I remembered, oh yeah, there was this legendary episode of How Long Gone with the musician John Vanderslice. It legitimately might be the greatest of all time podcast appearance from somebody random who I'd never heard of being a good podcast guest. I know about John Vanderslice as a musician and stuff. I followed a lot of his kind of projects and aliases over the years, but I never knew he gave such great interviews on a pod. But he was awesome. He was so amazing in terms of like talking about his his relationship with drugs, about buying drugs off the dark market, about Bitcoin, and just his philosophy about being an artist was super refreshing. And he had some really interesting takes that I want to kind of talk about here on the pod, which I feel like were really, really cool and kind of had a lot of kind of resonance in terms of how I want to try to approach stuff going forward. So I'm going to try and get it loaded up on here on my side. Bear with me 1 second. But essentially, the first kind of clip I've got here is him talking about drugs and sort of creativity. And essentially he was saying that drugs should be, it's like a ceremonial thing. And you shouldn't use drugs as like a way to kind of, unlock your creativity. You should be actually trying to create as sober as you can, which is something you hear a lot from the people who are like at the upper echelons of what they do. But I think the guys coming up kind of have a different kind of perspective. But usually the upper echelon guys and girls are usually the ones that say a similar type of thing. Like you shouldn't be doing any drugs to kind of unlock your creativity. That's actually a myth. You should be as sober as possible to try and do that. But this is a clip taken from the, what's it called? How Long Gone podcast. And I think it's podcast number 337 if you want to check it out yourself. But this is a clip from there that I thought was really interesting where he speaks about this whole thing. So let's play here. John Vanderslice on drugs and creativity. Let's see if this plays.
Think about this all the time. I'm in it. This is my hot take. I think it decreases creativity. I really do. I really do. And the reason is I think that it's like, when you're creative, it's almost like you're desperate for a little action. You're desperate to get fucked. You're desperate to get like power. You're desperate to get money. You're desperate to get clout or love or out of your own fucking misery. And the thing is that when you start having fully realized experiences with like ceremonial drugs, it almost takes up so much oxygen and is so creative in itself that you come out exhausted. You come out fully satisfied. You come out as like a god. And like those kind of people don't make art. You know what I mean? They just like the weeks after I do Aya, I'm just like in my house petting my cat and like sitting in my backyard. You know what I mean? I think of like the greatest records I ever made were in periods of like abject fucking suicidal ideation and misery. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a joyous, place, and like, I have a really funny attitude towards like art and the validity of creative action. Like I really genuinely feel it's like the most sacred expression of being a human, but I also feel that it's fake as shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I look at so much of what I've done in my life and it's like an extension of just ego stuff. And it feels very dark and like contaminated, so, and I'm not tortured by this stuff at all. I mean, I make records all the time. I have a fun time. In general, I'm very happy in my own life. So I don't have like a complicated thing to work out here,
and he makes a lot of good points there, but the one that really stuck out to me was the fact that he kind of equated taking drugs and, trying to use it as a way to unlock your creativity. He kind of described it as it's sucking up all the oxygen. And it's a really good point because it reminds me a lot of something Joey Diaz used to say back in the day. I think when he noticed when he was starting to go off the rails, when he was starting to take stand-up comedy serious, and obviously he was addicted to cocaine by that time, but he was saying sometimes you try and go on stage high, and what he realized was that it sort of like numbed the receptors that he would have, or the senses to connect with the audience whilst he's doing stand-up. And a lot of Joey Diaz's comedy anyway is a lot of kind of like, storytelling, and a lot of that stuff you have to kind of pull it from a real place and maybe on the spot improvise some bits and pieces based on the time that you're telling the story. But it requires you to basically tap into like a real emotion. And unfortunately, although drugs sometimes make you feel really emotional and they elevate your emotions, they actually don't allow you to tap into them. So if you're trying to create, it's actually the worst thing to do if you want to kind of create from an actual real place. But for whatever reason, society, culture, whatever it may be, maybe some, some hero stories along the way has kind of led us to believe that, doing drugs in that kind of way can tap into it. But actually, if you approach it from like a ceremonial point of view, as what he's basically saying, mostly relating to like the ayahuasca type of stuff, to like use that as a thing to maybe open up some receptors or make you kind of, reflect on your life a little bit. Fair enough. That's like a life altering shift. But once you're away from that experience and you're back to your regular life after going on a big trip, it's back to kind of working completely sober and trying to do it that way in terms of clocking in, clocking out, like a job wise, as opposed to tapping into those things all the time to kind of awaken some creativity thing that you think is going to take you to the next level, which usually doesn't happen like that. Personally. But another one that I thought was really interesting here was this clip that he spoke about in the pod, where he mentioned something about never drinking or doing any drugs when he's on tour, which I think is amazing. As a punter and a fan of music and a fan of people in general and when to go see shows, like, I want to see the best version of you. If the best version of you happens to be part of your mystique is that you get on the stage and you're smashed and you're all over the place, fair enough. But I'd rather have you be your best self than just try and enjoy yourself on the stage. You'd rather see someone on the stage stone cold sober, smashing it, and then at the end going crazy some drinks, fair enough. And obviously in the DJ culture, which I'm kind of mostly speaking about in relation to this, is somewhat part of the scene to kind of, do a little bit of drugs and drink as you're kind of playing. But in actuality, like, it doesn't really make any sense if you think about it, especially in the kind of context of the space that you're in. Because you'd imagine, for the most part, on most dance floors, on any given weekend, in any flipping club around the world, you would say maybe over 50% of the people in there are probably high or drunk. If that's the case, I think as an artist, as a DJ, I would probably be best served if I stepped into that space being one of the sober ones, but also being able to know how to tap into that feeling that's kind of vibrating around the room and sort of taking those people on a journey, because you're understanding that because they're kind of out of it, they just want to be guided. So actually me being the sober one that's actually guiding them through the night, that's actually a better way to kind of, be able to destroy and to smash a DJ set to pieces and absolutely tear it apart than trying to go in there and be on the same level as them. Personally, you would imagine so. At most, maybe a little shot to kind of get you loose if you need be. But I think just being in a club anyway as a DJ, like preparing to play after the next person, especially when it's their last tune and you're plugging in your USB and you're getting your headphones sorted, that adrenaline should be enough to kind of get you in the mood to kind of do it right. And if you're not in that mood to do it right with that, then maybe you're in the wrong profession. But I thought John Vanderslice's opinion on never doing drugs or drinking while on tour was incredible. But then he says at the end, he kind of will celebrate the end of a long tour with a nice drink, and that's kind of the feeling that you can never kind of replicate. That kind of, delayed gratification thing is a real thing. So let's hear John Vanderslice speak about this now.
Everything after that is just icing on the cake.
It's icing on the cake. Well, so you run in Elysian Park, which is dangerous. So I'm praying for you. If you run on tour and it's in like a beautiful environment, do you feel yourself being better, or do you like the grunge?
Okay, do you want to hear something terrible? I've never once run on tour in my entire life. Ever once.
What?
Yeah, never once.
You're that hungover? Bro, you've been touring for 25 years. What are you doing?
I've actually never had a drink or done drugs ever on tour either.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Never.
Okay, now that is the most fucked up thing you've said.
So you're saying you just have group sex every night after the show?
No,
and there's no drugs.
I've actually never had sex with more than one person either. So I'm oddly vanilla mixed in with some crazy shit.
Yes.
Man, so you're telling, so you've been touring, you've literally been touring for you've been doing this for a very long time, and you've done it at every level. I feel like you've probably done some really wild big shit. You've done tiny clubs.
Yep.
And you're saying you do this stone cold sober.
I've never, and I'm not being just funny or just stretching the truth. I've never even had a sip of alcohol on a day off. Even
really.
And so I'm touring Europe in at the end of May. So I leave here on the 20th, and it's for a month. And I'm opening up for Not a Surf in Europe. I'm in their bus, and it's like it's a good. I mean, I've done a couple tours with them before, but this is like. It's nice. There's no UK, so you don't have to deal with like Brexit stuff. It's like Switzerland and Germany and France and Spain and like Belgium and
the chill countries.
It's a very high quality of life kind of tour. So maybe 2 weeks before I leave, so like any day now, I will stop doing any drug or alcohol because I'm getting ready for a tour. So I just go into like pure rehearsal mode, and I'll be like. Just focused on the tour. And then the day, the last night of that, my girlfriend's going to be coming in to see the last show is in Brussels. And then that night we'll go out and like get some beers in Belgium.
So after all of that, you just get some, I mean, I would have my chick fly in and I'm like, all right, this is where you inject the heroin into my eyeballs. I'm not going to go out for a schnitzel and a couple cold ones.
Yeah. What do you, so so you're saying that you're just, is it like a focus thing, or is it just like you compartmentalize this stuff in your life?
It's a focus thing. I think that we have an ethical kind of agreement with the audience to be at our best every single night, and playing shows every night is incredibly hard. Alcohol is notoriously brutal on your vocal cords. And like, I also have a theory of like, you do less drugs so you can do more drugs. You have like these long swaths of not touching anything, like you leave everything. I mean, think about when I was touring all the time, there were years when I would drink alcohol maybe 20 or 30 times the entire year because of this schedule, and like, so it kind of like forces you into these like very like disciplinary periods in your life, which you have to have, because when you tour, all you see, you don't even see drug addicts. You see alcoholics. Yeah. That's all you see around you is alcoholics. You tour with them. They open up for you. You open up for them.
They work at all the venues.
The bartenders. It's like, that's the kind of the payment for being on tours, that you get to start drinking at like 3 o'clock in the day, every day, as much as you want.
Yeah. And I guess just knowing what a bar smells like at sound check at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's crazy.
That can be a sober.
Crazy depressing.
So it sounds like you're just edging with alcohol and drugs.
Yes,
kind of.
Exactly.
Which I love that. That was flipping amazing to hear. But it also made me think about, can you imagine how difficult it must be to like be sober, working as like a stage-hand? Is that stagehand, right? Like a stagehand, like the person that responsible for like moving the equipment from venue to venue, who sets up the equipment in particular music venues, or it's just the general like handyman person. Like, it must be really difficult to live somewhat sober if you're in that kind of scene. If you like if you're the person responsible for like setting up rigs at festivals in like, locations around the world or around the country or in your state or in your city, it must be really hard to like abstain from drinking or doing any drugs, because you're essentially on your feet like for like 10 hours plus a day. You're in the hot sun. You're surrounded by people that are absolutely smashed. So I can only imagine what that's like. It's probably a fun job. You get to meet a lot of interesting people. You work in the industry too. You probably have a job, I won't say somewhat for life, but you're an integral member of the industry, of the music industry, because you're essentially the framework which everything kind of sits on. You're setting stuff up and whatever it may be. I don't know what the term is called for it, but I'm got it in my head. Somebody that does all the setup and the setting up and the setting down of whatever the stagehand. That must be super, super difficult. But I did like in general what John Vanderslice had to say about just treating the occupation of an artist or as a DJ with respect. And I feel like nowadays, especially with the economy being what it is, I know it's a bit of a cliche now and everyone keeps saying it, but with the economy being the way it is, and with people's finances being a bit stretched, or their pockets, not being as deep as it once were, I think if you're an artist, you kind of owe it to the fans who do come and see you, who do pay the £30, the $50 to come out and see you, who do get their parents to come and, look after their kid to see you, who get someone to look after their flipping pets to see you, who, drive down petrol, car park space, whatever it may be, buy merch. You do owe it to those people, usually working class people, to put on a bit of a good show. And you can only put on a good show if you're in a good sound mind. And that is kind of just abstaining from the booze and the beer. And it's not even from the drugs and alcohol. It's not even for a long time. We're just saying to you, just do it 24 hours before the show. and during the show. But then after the show's done, get fucking wasted if you want to. But on stage, I want to see the best of you, possibly, because most likely you made that music anyway that I love, you know, with sound mind. Why not perform it with sound mind? I don't really understand the whole like getting on stage and slurring your words and being all smashed up. Like, it doesn't really fill me with any confidence. And usually I'm one of those type of fans where if you give me one good show, it doesn't even need to be that amazing. Like, I'm not saying like fucking Beyonce level production, but just give me one decent good show and I'm a fan of yours for life. I'm going to sing your praises. I'm going to come to your shows anytime you're back in my town. That's how easy it is to hook me. And I think most people are like that as well. But for whatever reason, these people out here want to just, you know, they want their cake and eat it too. They want to perform and they want to get on it, and it gets a little bit crazy. And then the last clip here, taken from this interview that I love, like I said, this is definitely one of the greatest of all time podcast appearances that I've ever seen. John Vanderslice on How Long Gone, episode number 337. This last clip is really funny because he speaks about not basically doing drugs every day, because he has this, you know, philosophy on drug taking, which is basically do it a short period of time, then abstain for a long period of time to do it again, which makes sense because he's an artist who kind of produces at the highest level. He's got a big fan base. He tours all the time. He's been around for ages. So it makes sense that in order to operate at that level, he has to have more months in the year that he's sober than he's drunk and high. That makes more sense, especially if you don't mind doing recreational drugs, but you also don't want it to kind of take over your entire year. So maybe you spec out like in a 12-month year, in 12 months of the year, you maybe spec out 10 months of when you're completely sober and then 2 months when you're not, and you just split up those 2 months, you know, across the year, which kind of works out a little bit better, which maybe is a grown-up way of doing it. Anyway, this is John Vanderslice on it. Let me play the clip for you now.
100%. And like, so I think that when you like really keep it locked into that one ceremonial use, even if it's completely like superficial, like it doesn't have to be about transforming your, you know,
you're like, oh wait, stop sucking, let me hit this joint really quick, it'll make it better. Something like that.
I mean, and then the other thing is that I think that like drug use is best, and this is the do less drugs thing to do more, is the idea that like you don't normalize drug use. You don't do anything every day. In fact, I would say that like
I wish somebody would told me that before I met OxyContin, but thanks for the tip.
I would have kept you safe. I really would have kept you safe.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been your better angel with drugs.
John knows the difference between use and abuse.
And also pills are, as you know, Chris, like pills are easy. And I also don't, I like the rattiness of a drug. Like, for instance, I would have said you would have been better off smoking opium.
You know,
than doing
and it's funny you say that. I have smoked some opium in my time, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's basically grass-fed OxyContin, right, John?
It's artisanal.
It is. It's a better high. It's more complicated. You know, there's more going on, and it's more functional.
It's more full-bodied.
I can't toss 8 of those back and wash it down with a smart water after a bowl of cereal. You know what I'm saying?
What was the most like that you ever think you did in one day?
I was doing, at the peak, I was probably doing 10 oxys and like 5 muscle relaxers at the same time.
Jesus
Did
Christ.
it feel like kind of amazing though, right?
Hell yeah, it felt amazing, bro. Until I OD'd. Yeah, it was sick.
Fuck. And then what happened when you OD'd?
Well, I thought I woke up in the hospital and I was fine.
Fuck.
And then I went home and I kept doing it for a couple more months, and then I decided to stop doing it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of discipline.
Yeah, well, I'm very disciplined now, and I believe that I was also very disciplined about taking it every single day. And that was the problem. I was too disciplined. I was too disciplined about my intake.
The blessing and the curse of being a disciplined
Yeah, it
person.
comes at you in different ways. But I think that your outlook it's very nice to hear about, because this is what I think a lot of people aspire to. I think Jason has a little bit of this in him as well.
I don't want to, if it's that easy, to quote Tupac Shakur the Late.
Yeah, but for someone like me, I just don't have it in me. I have it's either, pedal to the metal or nothing at all. And
I think that's essentially everybody's problem. And I think that's where John Vanderslice actually smashed it. Because I think most people, myself included, have that issue of like, it's either on all the way or off. There's no middle ground, but there should be a middle ground. There should be a way to kind of do it somewhat sensibly. If that's something that you enjoy to do, of course. If you don't, then of course just give it up. But I think most of us just recognize the potential to kind of do too much, so we'd rather just abstain completely because we know how far it can go. You start off with a drink, like, 'cause I know I've got some friends who, you know, as soon as they go out for a drink and they're with a group of people, that's when suddenly everyone gets around and be like, hey, who's got a number? Who's gonna go pick up? Do you know what I mean? That's as soon as it starts. That's all it takes. Just a group of friends hanging around. It's past 9 p.m. straight away. Who's got a number? Who's gonna pick up something? And then it kind of goes from there. So I can understand if you're that person to say, you know what, I'd rather just not drink, because I know if I do have one drink with a group of friends, it's going to escalate to me doing drugs, it's escalate to me going to a club, to me to go to an after hours, and then suddenly it's fucking Sunday at 4 p.m. and I haven't been home. So I can understand that, but I think there should be a middle ground. I think people should be growing up, and especially nowadays with stuff like the darknet around and Telegram, and you know, and drugs being legal in certain countries and whatnot, and you know, maybe decriminalized in certain places. People should be grown up about doing it because it's something that isn't going to go away anytime soon. The drug taking, I think intake increased probably tenfold during the flipping peak of the pandemic, especially when people were at home and had nothing to do. And it's probably going to get worse now with society being the way it is, and people trying to cope with flipping regular life. So finding a way to kind of balance and kind of make that make sense is probably the best way to kind of go about things. But again, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of personal inventory. It takes a lot of just effort to kind of make that work. It's better just to kind of indulge and kind of let yourself go. But I'm at the point now where, you know, I'm trying to my best to put my flipping hand on that gearbox and just flipping keep that flipping car in gear and not let it get too crisp. Because, you know, the easy thing to do would be to go and cop an automatic, slip it and drive and just go all the way. No. And if you're able to put that stuff in gear and just get it going. But that's just my point of view on it. You know, I don't really know much when it comes to that sort of stuff. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the comments about it. And Tashki, big up to Tashki. She says, I've never been into drugs. I've tried a few things because of peer pressure, but never was into it. I'm naturally existential and sensitive to energy, so I don't need substance to get me there. Yep, for sure. I understand what you mean. And I think that's a good thing. I think recognizing what you're into or recognizing what kind of gets or jives with you straight away is the best thing to do. Trying to make it work is the worst thing. Like, you know, there's people that I know who essentially convince themselves to like wine. This is a weird example, but it's the only way I could kind of pull. Like that time when everyone was trying to drink wine and natural wines and be kind of, you know, all like, you know, cultured and shit. Some people just didn't like it, but tried to convince themselves to like it. And now they're at a point where they can't drink anything else but that. I'd hate to be that person. I'd rather just try something. If I don't enjoy it, just kind of leave it alone. I don't need to kind of keep going back and around again just to kind of make it work. I feel that stuff is ultra weird. And if you've got the option, you know, the peer pressure thing is hard. But if you don't have the peer pressure thing and you can just kind of abstain off your own volition, then why not? Why would you try and get involved in something that could legitimately be, you know, that could get you down a really, really bad path? But again, it takes time, it takes effort. It's not easy. But I think, you know, with a little bit of good intention, things can go the right way if you need be. Things can go the right way. Moving on from that one, because I don't want to get anybody hungry to go and pick up some pills or whatnot, talking about that sort of stuff too much. I quickly wanted to move on to some other topics that I thought were of note here. Number one being the fucking takeover of Man United. So the takeover news so far isn't good. Like I said before, I need to maybe protect my mental health and not check news concerning Man United potential sale or takeover anytime soon, because it looks like there's no movement. Sheikh Jassim put out an ultimatum essentially saying, hey, my final bid that I'm submitting is this, and you have a deadline until Friday. The offer's still on the table, but I'm not going to submit nothing else. You have until Friday to let me know Wagwan. And of course, the fucking Glazers, those leeches, those flipping cockroaches, haven't replied or said anything, because my feeling and a lot of feelings of the fans is that they would much rather not sell the club in full. They'd much rather sell the club, sell a portion of the club to somebody like a Jim Ratcliffe, and then get the option to stay on, still pull out dividends and earn a salary from the club, whatever it may be, and then later on down the line sell whatever remaining stock they have for more. So if you sell 60% now for 4 billion, you can potentially, if things work out the way you need, you could potentially sell the other 40% for 3 billion. So you can essentially make more than what they actually had listed the club for. Because I think the fee that they kind of wanted was like 5 billion. So at the moment, it's looking crazy because I'm one of the fans who thinks like we need a full clean break. We need the Glazers gone and a restart, because clearly the Glazers have shown in their tenure at United that they don't have a clue what they're doing. The bankers that they employed are fucking hopeless. We move like a fucking tortoise once it comes to doing business. And with the summer transfer window, already open and clubs already maneuvering and signing up the big talents, and, the competition in the league being the way it is, and Europe being very competitive and blah, 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 blah. You would think that we need a clean break to just get things started. But for some reason, it's not the case. We're still here twiddling our thumbs, waiting for the fucking Glazers to decide when they're going to sell, if they're going to sell. And so far, the update isn't good. So this is courtesy of BBC News. It says the Man United takeover club owner spoke to PSG chairman about Sheikh Jassim's bid, Hamad Al Tayin's bid. So essentially, they're saying that the Glazers spoke to the PSG owners to try and get them to pressure Sheikh Jassim to offer more, to get into some bidding war. But my kind of gut feeling is that they were never going to sell to Sheikh Jassim anyway. They would much rather sell to Jim Ratcliffe, give up partial ownership, get loads of money, quote unquote, to invest, and then sell the rest of the stuff that they have left in ownership or shares later on down the line for more than what is probably valued for now. The story goes as follows. BBC Sport has to be told that it was instigated by the Glazers, who have known the Qatari Al Khalifi for years. Sheikh Jassim and Jim Ratcliffe, Enios Group, are competing to buy the club. The Qatari banker made a fifth offer this week with a warning that he would not engage with the process beyond Friday. It is privately being claimed that the conversation did not work as the bid for the full takeover was not increased, but it's been reported that Al Khalifi has also met with the Rain Group, which is handling the sale process, although this is being denied by the source close to the PSG's chairman. Those same sources also adamant that El Khalifi has no role, either officially or unofficially, in the United, and the bid is completely separate to PSG, amid suggestion from other clubs that want any sale of the Sheikh Jassim to fully be investigated due to a feeling that it will be essentially funded by Qatar. Concerns have previously been expressed around the potential conflicts of the interest with El Khalifi's club role and his status as chairman of the influential European Clubs Association, and his close relationship with UEFA president Alexander Serafin. Sources close to Sheikh Jassim have repeatedly claimed that proposed purchase is being made in private capacity. It has been established that El Khalifi has spoken to Sheikh Jassim to offer his experience around the running of a European club. It's not expected Sheikh Jassim will to make any statement around the self-imposed Friday deadline, and he's not intended to withdraw from his bid. So far, it's not looking good. Like I said, I'm going to have to protect my mental health and just not check this news too much, but I can't help it. I'm a fucking fan, and I want the Glazers gone. I feel like they've flipping been a hindrance to the progress of this club for a very, very long time, and will legitimately go down as one of the worst football owners of all time. What they've done to my, beloved club is nothing short of gross negligence, and they should be tried in the fucking Hague for the crimes against football. But hey, what do I know? What do I bloody know? So, moving on swiftly from that one, let's talk about this, brother. So this is just kind of breaking news, actually, courtesy of BBC News. Just 1 hour ago, Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, has basically quit as an MP with immediate effect because of the report concerning all the parties that were happening during COVID, essentially the Partygate report that was happening here in the UK, which is quite interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to see the residual damage that's been caused by some of these politicians, higher ups in society, who took the absolute piss during the peak of the pandemic, when we were all locked down at home. We couldn't go outside, especially in the UK. We had fucking crazy rules about what time you could go outside in terms of curfews. There were fines that were maybe going to be enforced. You couldn't gather in a certain number of groups of people, just nonsense stuff, right? And for whatever reason, they were going really, really hard in terms of telling the civilians or the citizens that what they could and couldn't do. But little did we know, behind closed doors, these guys were doing the complete opposite of what they were advising us. They were gathering in place, they were having parties, they were drinking and shit. They were doing all the stuff that we were told we weren't allowed to do, and they were doing it during, again, the peak of the pandemic. I think this would have been somewhat forgivable if it was happening towards the tail end, or if they just were somewhat congruent of what they said to what they did. But the hypocrisy of it during the peak of the pandemic when they were telling us to, wear a mask and mask saves lives and, be 10 feet distance from people, these motherfuckers were having sausage rolls in the fucking parliament buildings, dining rooms and stuff, and sniffing coke in the flipping bathrooms and, dancing around to fucking Tom Jones songs and shit, whilst we have to kind of, stay in place at home. Absolutely awful. So I, for one, am kind of happy to see that there has been some consequences to this, right? That they didn't just all get away with it. They kind of did, but they didn't, because Boris Johnson's reputation has been forever tarnished. And it's just funny because he's somebody that, is not without his controversy, but to find that his legacy is now going to be essentially rested entirely on how he dealt with COVID and the pandemic and all the parties that are happening whilst we're all kind of locked down, is kind of hilarious to see, to be honest, but also speaks to the anger that kind of fills the hearts of most citizens and most regular people, because people lost family members. Some people couldn't go to fucking funerals because of the lockdowns, but all these motherfuckers were out here doing what they were doing. Anyway, the report courtesy of BBC says as follows: I've been forced out over Partygate report. Boris Johnson is to step down as an MP with immediate effect after receiving the Partygate report. That report by the MP-led Privileges Committee looked into whether he misled Parliament over a lockdown breaking parties at Downing Street. Mr. Johnson accused the Commons inquiry of attempting to drive me out. In a statement, he said they still not produced a shred of evidence that I knowingly or recklessly misled the Commons. Earlier on Friday, he received a copy of the yet to be published report, which claimed which he claimed was riddled with inaccuracies and reeks of prejudice. Lols. Look, Boris Johnson saying he's been prejudiced. Oh, I fucking love this guy. In evidence given to the Privilege Committee in March, Boris Johnson admitted to misleading Parliament, but denied doing so on purpose. Of course he didn't do it on purpose. How did he know? He's just a little baby. He didn't know. He said the social distancing had not been perfect at gatherings at the Downing Street during COVID lockdowns, but he said that there were essential work events. Does that look like a fucking essential work event to you? A whole table full of fucking pret-a-manger sandwiches and people standing around drinking room temperature fucking tango and, whatever it may be. Come on, man. That's not an essential place. Look at that guy here. Look how he's dressed. You think that's an essential work meeting? I don't think so. It continues. He insisted the guidelines as he understood them were followed at all times. Announcing he would step down, the former Prime Minister issued a lengthy statement on Friday evening in which he said, I did not lie. I believe that in their hearts, the committee know it. They know perfectly well. When I spoke in the comments, I was saying what I believe sincerely to be true and what I had briefed to say like any other minister. I love that political speech, innit? That's a great way to not admit you're lying, right? That's an amazing way to not admit you're lying. When I spoke in the Commons, I was saying what I believed sincerely to be true and what I had been briefed to say. So you can't essentially say you're lying under oath, because in that moment, what I believed to be true was this. Sorry, baby. I believed that woman that I slept with the other day was you. At that time, I believed that it was you. It was not my intention to break your heart. At that time, I believed that I was impregnating you. I did not believe I was impregnating some hussy on the street. I'm so sorry. Take me back. It continues. Mr. Johnson said that he was corrected and the record has soon been possible, and claimed that committee members know that. He said that the current Prime Minister and then the occupant of the same building, Rishi Sunak, also believed they were. He condemned the committee as a kangaroo court. That's emphasis the kangaroos, and claimed that it was on purpose from the beginning and he had been found guilty regardless of the facts. Cool. That aside, right? That aside, you know what's the worst thing about fucking Boris? You know the worst thing about this guy? The worst thing about him is shit like this. Look at this fucking shit. If you want proof Boris Johnson honors this as a joke, he's given an OBE. He's given an award from the royal family, right? A fucking honor. I think it's Officer of the British Empire. That's what it means, OBE. To his fucking hairdresser, Kelly Joe Dodge. His hairdresser, this guy whose hair looks like this when he wakes up, recommended his hairdresser to get an OBE. Do you know how corrupt and how crooked you have to be to do that? So brazenly. Off of the back of you throwing parties and raves in the House of Commons during the peak of the pandemic. Here you are, one parting shot to the fucking public. A big FU to the fucking regular folks out there trying to make it work. You fucking try and recommend your fucking hairdresser for a flipping OBE. The hairdresser of Boris Johnson, whose hair looks like that, whose hair looks like he fucking combs it with a fucking balloon. This guy wanted to give his hairdresser a fucking award. Imagine that. An OBE. What absolute lunacy. For that alone, he should have stepped down, to be honest. For that alone, he should have fucking stepped down. But anyway, big up Boris. He goes out and fucking flamed. No longer an MP. We're probably going to see him on fucking Dancing with the Stars or some nonsense soon. Most likely, I reckon. Because, you know, he's a fucking fame whore and he loves the sound of his own voice. So we're not going to get rid of him anytime soon. But what an absolute psycho of a guy, man. Absolute psycho. Sometimes I think these guys, like, the lack of self-awareness is pretty crazy. Moving on from that one, quickly want to say congratulations to Dave and Central Cee. Somehow, I'm actually surprised because I thought Trojan Horse was the better single, but according to the official charts, Dave and Central Cee have got a #1 record with the first single off of that EP called Split Decision for Sprinter. I actually prefer Trojan Horse, and maybe I'd actually even go as far as saying UK Rap might be a better single, but for whatever reason, they chose Sprinter as the first single. The video's out now. I think last time I checked, the video had like 16 million views, and people loved it and everything, whatever it may be. And these two guys kind of linking up, the two guys at the top of their game, both young, both killing it. It's something kind of, you know, you don't really see too often. Usually record labels like to keep guys like this apart and have them compete against each other, but maybe because they're independent, it kind of helps to them to kind of work together a little easily. But it's actually impressive that that single that I don't think is the greatest or is it the best on the EP is actually the one that got #1. That means the whole project is absolutely doing numbers. So this is courtesy of official charts. Record breaker David Central Cee debut at #1 in the UK charts with Sprinter. Duo land the biggest streaming week of any rap song in the UK chart history. The good thing about it, I think, about that song being #1 is just how much the culture has shifted in the UK, because the content of that song is not, you know, it's not PG, it's not, you know, radio friendly type of content. And the fact that that sort of stuff is now becoming #1 on the regular basis, something, I think it's pretty cool to see. The evolution of, you know, UK rap and I would say predominantly black music in the UK is good, because there was a time where we were weirdly puritanical, if that makes sense, when it comes to, you know, having music from the black culture or urban culture kind of showcased on the regular UK charts. For some reason it wasn't, even though those songs that I kind of grew up with or freestyles, whatever it may be, were ringing out in the streets, it was never reflected in radio or in some of these official charts. So it's good to see these guys kind of be able to service the quote-unquote hood and also service the mainstream audience, which is pretty sick. And obviously when you do that, that's how you end up with fucking matching fucking G-Wagons. You only end up with matching G-Wagons, right, if you end up being able to serve the hood and serve the fucking overground. It's kind of the Virgil Abloh method. So overground and underground at the same time. That's the best way to go about it. Anyway, the article courtesy of officialcharts.com says as follows: David Central Cee pull up in the Sprinter for a record-breaking #1 debut at the official chart. The powerhouse duo's first official collaboration nets Dave his third UK #1 single following the 2018 Funky Friday. Wow, shit. Well done, bloody hell. I forgot that was for #1. And with Fredo last year, Starlight, and Central Cee's first ever chart-topping single, having previously peaked at #2 with Doja. As well as clinching, no, Doja should have been #1. I don't know what beat it at #1, but that record was fucking everywhere 2022. It continues here, as well as clinching the biggest opening week of the year so far. Sprinter tops the official singles chart with 108,000, sorry. My head is spinning. Including a record-breaking 13.4 million streams, the biggest week of streams for a rap single ever. According to official charts company data, surpassing Stormzy's Vusi Bop. What the fuck? That's maddening, bro. This is surpassed. Vusi Bop was a moment as well. The video, everything about it, so that's really good. They also earned the biggest first week of streams since Adele's Easy on the Money. And imagine, Vusi Bop had major industry label push. If I'm not mistaken, both Dave and Central Cee are independent. So to them be able to kind of get this amount of streams and get this level of popularity and whatever it may be from this song, being independent, doing on their own without the fucking machine, just shows the power of these guys organically. It's fucking crazy. They've also earned the biggest first week streams of Adele's Easy on Me. 2 more tracks from Dave Central Cee surpassed, with Trojan Horse being 14 and UK Rap being 17. cool, amazing, and great. Personally, for me, as just a word of caution, I hope they don't try and rinse this. I hope this is kind of like a one and done for a while, and they both go back to doing their own things, because I feel like they could use the kind of the heat and the attention from this to kind of segue into their own albums, EPs and shit. I hope they don't go and try and do an album together and go on, like, it's just going to be too much. Like, let people kind of let this be something people savor and kind of long for, maybe a couple of years down the line, then kind of revisit it. But for now, drop this, maybe a couple more videos, do some appearances with kind of, enjoy the flipping heat and the fun of this, but don't basically do too much with it. I personally think, like, try and leave people asking for more and kind of, approach the album and whatnot going forward individually. But I would love to see that. But most likely, because of success and it's done really well, why not double back and do a whole album? But I would rather they focus on their individual stuff, because I feel like, you probably learned a lot from each other from this flipping experience working together at that level. And why not kind of use that bit of steam to kind of segue into the, into the heat of your own solo career. That's what I would do anyway. But again, what do I know? I'm just a random guy here in the depths of East London talking out my asshole. But yeah, enjoyed the EP, loved it for the most part. My favorite track was Trojan Horse, but I do understand Sprinter, the video, the vibes, everything, why it made a lot of sense. Going on from that, want to mention as well, J Hus and Drake dropped a track, or it's a J Hus track featuring Drake, and the conversations around it on social have been quite interesting. A lot of people have been saying that essentially Drake got washed on this track. I don't think so. I think it's mostly a J Hus track, of course. He's got more of the verses on it. But I thought they complemented each other really well. I thought Drake's verse was fucking fantastic. That verse is going to absolutely go in festivals and in dances. People are going to be singing that shit word for word. Already the opening couple of bars in the flipping track are crazy, right? Who told you bad man don't dance? Who told you dancers don't dance? Like, that already is going to be, that's already a sing-along, a caption-worthy type of affair for a very, very, very long time. But I thought Drake's verse was harder than hard. Like, even this, I don't know if this was an ode to what's his name? I forgot the guy's name. What's it called? It's like a UK rap guy, right? And he's got like a song where he speaks about what is it called? It's like a funky house song. It's like a funky house, knees and toes. Knees. What's his name? Knees, head, shoulders. I'm not sure if that was what's his name? KRG? Is it KRG? Is that the guy's name? Tiny Temper? No, what's his name? Is it KRG? It can't be KRG. It's like a funky house song that goes head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I want to see. Let me see the ladies' crew. Whatever. Anyway, it's an old school like song from the UK. If you know it, right? And I wonder if this opening line from Drake, where it says "touch my forehead, chest, left, and shoulder," if that's like a little nod to him, or if that's just like him just doing his thing. Whatever. Doesn't matter. The verse is fucking fire. Fire. I thought it was super, super hard. I'm surprised people are saying that he got washed by J Hus. I thought they complemented each other incredibly well. Nice and tight, didn't go crazy. And again, this is going to be sung word for word in the dances. So people acting as if like this isn't a flipping bop. You guys are being flipping insane. But obviously J Hus did his thing as well. And I think this is far more what people want to hear from J Hus than maybe the first single, which I still feel was a solid attempt to kind of, introduce yourself back into the scene again. But I thought they complemented each other well. The beat was flipping great. Perfect amount of length. Loads of good little sing-along bars that you can kind of go crazy to under the influence of some Ray or a couple of Magnums in the dance. So for me, it does a job. And I can't wait to hear it out loud on a big, big speaker system when I'm out there in the streets with the kids thems, which I'm not really. But hey, you got to pretend like you are, innit? Because why not? Why the hell not? So, moving on from this, quick way to mention this regarding fashion-y stuff, right? So, I think I mentioned beforehand that there's a Grace Wells Bonner Adidas collaboration that looked absolutely amazing, kind of building on the success of the first one that went crazy. And of course, the Sambas being the shoes that everyone kind of are fighting over. I think the original pair of Sambas, the kind of lime and green ones, if I'm not mistaken, they're going for like £400 or something last time I checked. Let me see if I can check again one more time here. But I'm pretty sure the last time I checked the Sambas, the original ones, they were going for like 400 on fucking StockX. So this update has been pretty good to see here. Let me see if I can get Adidas Samba stack. I'm going to check out my phone here just in case I don't able to get it up on here. And that original colorway that I think was like, well, I don't know if it was like a yellow green colorway. You won't be able to see it on here. And actually, it's this one. It's a brown one, isn't it? What? 2000? Okay, cool. Maybe I got it mistaken. But this colorway here is now going for like 600, which is the sort of the first one. And I'm actually going to get up on the screen so you can kind of see it. So that colorway there, that kind of brown one, that was one of the first ones they did, right? And that's like going for like, you know, last sale, there was like 559 in my size. No, actually it's 1,000. What am I talking about? It's not even 559. It's flipping 1,232. So those shoes did absolutely numbers. So they announced a new collection and some new colorways, and the silver ones, woohoo, are obviously the pièce de résistance that everyone kind of wants. There's a few other SL ones that people will like as well. I think there's like a creamy colorway too. But of course, the silver ones right here are the money makers, and they dropped earlier today. And obviously, I didn't have a chance to kind of cop them. They all kind of sold out super quickly. But it is good to see that the flipping resellers might have caught a bit of an L. I think the first pairs were the first pairs because they, you know, it was a moment in time. Everyone kind of went crazy for them, and they kind of did really, really well. I'd wear the hell out of that outfit, by the way. I'd wear the hell out of that flipping outfit. You got the little church vest jumper, some Adidas shorts from the collection, what I think you call them turquoise or teal football socks, and the silver shoes. Oh, I'd wear the fuck out of that outfit. Number one, yeah. But anyway, the first drop was the first drop. It was a moment in time, and I guess resellers thought that they could kind of replicate that feeling. Even that bejeweled headband thing, I'd fucking wear the hell out of that too. I'd wear the hell out of that bejeweled headband thing. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be a perfect thing to wear in a dance at Panorama Bar or something. But anyway, that being said, the first one was the first one. It did what it did. Resellers got a bit too excited and thought they could kind of catch another lick with the silver ones, but I'm happy to report the resellers caught a fucking L. So I'll be able to purchase these probably within kind of retail range, because so far, having checked StockX, the recent sale so far in my size, which is a big boy adult size, right? I'm like US 11, US 11.5. Look at the price. Only £200 on StockX with, you know, probably more than 20 pairs available. Only £200, and if I'm not mistaken, the retail of these Wells Bonner Adidas Samba and Silver was about 170, if I'm not mistaken, about the 170, 190 mark. So having to pay, I don't know, anywhere between the 50 to £100 on top to just purchase them whenever you want, ease of use, I'm gonna do that. Easy do that. I'm happy to do that. If it's only have to pay 50 to £100, that's an amazing turnaround. So it's quite cool to see for once that the resellers weren't able to fucking fleece these shoes and, you know, flipping increase the fucking price of them and not allow people that actually want to purchase the shoes an opportunity to get them. So it's good to see that you can still purchase them for a somewhat reasonable flipping fee of £200. So I'm absolutely over the moon of that. And it's good to see because it means that the people that actually want them can actually get the shoes. And I think that's always been my issue with this sort of stuff. Like, number one, the brands themselves, I feel like sometimes don't make enough units to satisfy demand. Like, my whole thing is like, for instance, that Apple Vision Quest thing, right, that everyone wants. The Apple Vision Quest thing, when it finally does come out, it's going to be available for everybody to purchase. We're all going to be able to get a pair of Apple flipping Vision Quest fucking, glasses. We're all going to be able to get a pair one day, eventually get put in production. So why is it the case we can get those flipping Apple glasses, but if we want a pair of limited edition shoes, we have to all fight over a small amount of stock, get stressed over nothing, when really they could make enough to satisfy demand so that you don't create this secondary resale market. But we know why they do that, because the secondary resale market helps to kind of like bolster their stock prices, what they look like, satisfy the shareholders, add to the myth, help the marketing along the way. It's all kind of goes hand in hand, in the same way that it kind of goes hand in hand with them kind of, in a weird way, these kind of brands essentially, propel, kind of in some way encouraging the fucking replica market by having this fucking artificial scarcity enacted. Because I feel like nowadays, maybe a few years ago, when I was maybe getting into sneakers, early 2000s times, maybe even before that, you could justify only making 1,000 pair of shoes because there's not many sneakerheads around the world. But I feel like nowadays, especially with the prevalence of sneakers everywhere, with the success of Yeezys, like, you know, you see Yeezys being worn by mums and dads in like shopping malls and shit. They're popular shoes, and you see fucking fakes of slides in Primark and all this sort of shit. I think personally there's, you know, everybody essentially is a sneakerhead, because I don't think there's a person in the world now, in most of the Western world, who doesn't know what a Jordan 1 is, who doesn't know what an Air Force 1 is, who doesn't know what an Adidas is, or Adidas shoes in general. So if that's the case, and sneaker industry is $1 billion industry, there is no reason to kind of purposefully limit the amount of shoes that you make just to have this false sense of, you know, scarcity. Because at the end of the day, the shoes are never, ever, ever, you know, there's never not enough shoes. They're never going to be made more. Like, you can say there's only 100 made, but there's going to be loads kind of being backdoored. There's going to be loads of fakes made. So the whole numbering of shoes makes no sense anyway, limited to quantity. You might as well just make more from the source, have them be available for a certain amount of time, maybe like a week or whatever it may be, make sure everyone's got their hands on it, and then keep it moving. Because I don't understand why, like I said before, why can I get a hold of a pair of fucking Apple Vision Quest Pros easier than I can get a pair of, you know, I can get a hold of a pair of fucking Paris Dunks? It makes no complete sense. But I'm happy to see sometimes there are occasions where the wearers of sneakers win, and you're able to buy shoes normally. So you can sign up, because I think I've heard some people on social saying they were able to buy a pair of these Wells Bonner Sambas in silver pretty easily via the raffles and stuff. So it feels like maybe a surprisingly more numbers were made than before, but still they need to do more, because I feel like nowadays, like, you know, this artificial scarcity thing is a bit lame. We all know what the shoes we want, we all have the money to buy them, make them available so we can purchase them and keep it moving that way. Because, you know, having loads of them all just sit on StockX and not having people actually wearing them is actually a discredit to the person that you're collaborating them to, because they want to be seen on foot and not flipping hoarded up in some 17-year-old's fucking room, stacked up in boxes so they can post for Instagram, in my opinion. But again, what do I know? I'm just a random guy in a random place talking out of my flipping asshole. Moving on from that one, quickly want to mention this quickly regarding Palace and Oakley's summer 2023 collaboration. And, you know, I don't really fuck with Palace. I think the brand's fucking terrible. But this is kind of interesting, because it looks like they've clearly made a conscious decision to turn their brand into like a collaboration incubator of some sort. Like, it feels like every other day, whenever I browse on Hypebeast, I'm seeing another fucking Palace collaboration. It's like they never end with collabs. You see more collab information than you do their actual regular collections. And when you do see the regular collections, they've got like 500 pieces. It's absolutely insane. So I, for one, don't know who's buying all this shit. I don't know if there's enough fucking, you know, Middle Eastern teenagers who are purchasing Palace on a, you know, yearly basis to justify how much fucking clothes that they make. Like, somewhere along the line, this stuff is going to be at the bottom of an ocean somewhere, you know, strangling a fucking lobster. Like, there's so much shit. Like, did anybody, you know, is anybody dying for this Palace and Oakley stuff? I don't know. Maybe. Oakley's reintroduced themselves back into the, you know, to the market again with the stuff they're doing with that. I think it's got things like Oakley Lab or something. They've done some stuff with Brain Dead, of course, and the summer stuff is pretty decent. This backpack looks like something I'd obviously wear, but I don't know if like the fans of this type of stuff are clamoring for these type of items, like an Oakley hoodie with Palace written on it underneath. You know, it looks like it's been designed in a certain way with certain pockets and stuff. So maybe it's not like your regular cut and sew hoodie. Fair enough. The glasses look fairly interesting. But again, it's a particular type of person that's going to wear this sort of stuff. Like, whenever I see this type of stuff, especially the pose here on the left, I just think of dudes that, you know, wear white socks, roll up their own cigarettes. I don't know, always have like a little bottle of vodka in their back pocket and something in clubs and stuff, and nick that while they're drinking somewhere. You know, who share grams of ket between like 7 people, you know, who unironically, you know, only eat Turkish food on the way home. I don't know. I don't really know. It's just weird. It's just very, 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 very weird who they make this type of stuff for. And it's just, I feel like it kind of somewhat cheapens or takes away the attention or devalues the mainline stuff, because you kind of want to buy Palace or those types of brands because of how cool they are, right, in some way, shape or form, because of how amazing the mainline collection is. But I feel like for some reason, all of these collabs kind of take away the power and the juice from the mainline because you're having to prop these up. But it makes a lot of sense why they're doing it, because I think, having been told by some people who are kind of in the know in the industry, they've told me that the money that you make from collaborations is just insane. So there's two ways. You could either get like residuals, where like you take royalties from the sale of the collaboration, or most people just take like a flat fee, like a consultation fee, or let's just call it a collaboration fee. So if you're a brand and you maybe don't, sell a lot season in, season out, the money that you get flat out off the, upfront from like a collab could essentially pay the salaries for your company for the year. So it makes sense why they do it. So, you take the 100 grand from Oakley or whatever it is, $500,000, and then you use that to kind of give you more runway, or to make you, or maybe actually what you end up doing is that you end up using that money or that kind of, a little bit of runway to take some chances with your mainline, to kind of freak some shit up and see, or maybe kind of, allow yourself a bit of buffer, and not have so much pressure on the mainline stuff. But I think if I was a fan, selfishly, I would be annoyed because I felt like the juice and the power that should be funneled into the main collection is being siphoned on into the collabs, and it's cheapening the brand. It's just all over the place, and generally just too much shit. Like there's the main collection, there's a collabs, there's this, there's that. It's just all too much, and you only have one body. I'd imagine, even if you've got all the money in the world, you can't be, you're not going to wear all your clothes to make it justifiable. So somewhere along the lines, you're going to end up creating surplus, and the kind of want appeal, the kind of, I don't know, the desirability of it is kind of gone now, because it kind of feels like, you can get this shit in Urban Outfitters at some point. Like it's a bit meh for me personally. But hey, I'm not necessarily a fan of the brand, so I'm maybe not the right person to speak about it. But if I'm not mistaken, is it out already? It should be out, right? Yeah, it's going to be out June 10th, so that's tomorrow. So check it out if you want it. It'll be available from June 10th. No, actually, is it? No, it says, so it's going to be available online today, and then it's going to be available later on in Japan from June 10th. So check that out if you need. Check that out if you do need. Next one to mention this courtesy of Hypebeast, regarding this UK brand called AELIZA, which I kind of liked what they've kind of been doing. The only thing that I'm a little bit, not really the biggest fan of is maybe the prevalence of tracksuits. I feel like from these UK brands, it doesn't matter if they're kind of more like what you'd call quintessentially quote unquote road hood brands, or whether they're brands that are kind of trying to emulate what a Cold War did, with what I feel like AELIZA kind of has a similar sort of vibe, where they sort of, maybe look at a Cold War and kind of use them as a template or as motivation or as someone to kind of aim for and something they're trying to do, which is not a bad thing. But I feel like for some reason, UK brands tend to have a real tendency to always have tracksuits, which maybe makes sense because, youth culture is intrinsically tied to tracksuits, especially here in Europe, or especially in the UK primarily. But I don't know. I don't feel like there's enough of an interesting story you can tell through regular sweatsuits, personally. I think they've all been kind of told. There's only so much bits of paneling that you can do to make them interesting. At the end of the day, it's still just a sweatsuit. There's maybe a bit more interesting ways to kind of tell your story. But regardless, this is AELIZA's Autonomy collection, courtesy of Hypebeast. Some decent pieces here and there, some cool t-shirts that I'm going to focus on here, actually on the screen. The first image, they've got a nice crop top, turtleneck type of top, which I like the look of. The pants are probably sweatpants, which I'm not really too fond of the slightest. The logo on the back of the t-shirt I kind of like and I dig. I'm not mad at that. They've got some socks also that don't look the greatest. There's not, maybe it's the angle, but the elasticity in this sock is not for me. I like my sock to kind of sit. I like my sock to be really tight and then to kind of loosen up over time over wear. But that looks like already it's a sock that's kind of going to be, it's kind of going to turn into a pair of stockings pretty quickly. It feels like already, but maybe it could be just the angle. So maybe it's just me. The shorts look really good. I like the look of the shorts. These really big pockets on the side are great. I'm a big fan of cargo pants anyway, so any additional pockets I can stuff the contents of my Tesco meal deal in, I'm definitely going to be happy about that. So that looks great. Again, like I said, this hoodie, I feel like I've seen this before with the paneling and the logo placement and how the pockets, I feel like I've seen that silhouette or something before. Maybe I'm too online or whatnot, but I just feel like there's maybe a different way to kind of tell this story without it being kind of placed on a hoodie like this. But again, execution wise, it looks fairly decent. I'm sure it's going to be decent quality as well, because it does look like it's been cut and sewed and not just a piece that they kind of printed on easily. I feel like this look is probably a little bit too much of a ode or nod to kind of what a Cold War's doing. I feel like graphic wise, everything about it kind of feels like a little bit too much like a copy of a Cold War. If that was me personally speaking from it, about it personally, don't really like that. This t-shirt I'm a fan of. The pants not so much. Again, the tracksuit logo top thing I just don't like, even though the colors are great. Even though if I was being a stickler, I'd say that maybe for some reason, I'm not too sure why, the color finish on the top and the bottom isn't the hue on the green. Maybe it's because of the color it's printed on. Maybe after it gets printed or screen pressed, whatever it may be, it doesn't take up as well. But I don't like that the hue of the green is different. It looks a bit weird there, personally, for me. But yeah, the tracksuit stuff, I don't know. I'm kind of just over the tracksuit. I think everyone's done it too much. It's kind of been done to death. And also, I don't like this pose. I feel like they should never do this pose again. It's kind of giving H&M. It's kind of giving Zara. It's kind of giving, Boohoo Men. I don't like this pose and slides. It kind of gives that, because I think Boohoo Men have that thing where they do a pose where the camera's like looking up from the feet. I don't get that, why you want to look like a fucking centaur, or you look like a transformer or some shit, but they've always got that angle where the camera's kind of looking from down above. I'd not really like that in the slightest, so that I'm not really too fond of. The jacket here looks really cool. Hopefully we see another better look at that jacket if it's similar to the shorts. I feel like that's probably where they should be going. Even this knit or this sweatshirt graphic is really cool. I love the look of that with the plastic chair. Or sorry, plastic, it looks like a plastic chair, but it's not. Yeah, I much prefer, if they were going to do tracksuits, I'd prefer this tracksuit here look in slide number 14, which essentially looks, instead of like a cotton sweatsuit tracksuit, it's more like a, I don't know what you call it material wise, nylon or whatever, type of shell suit type of vibe with some invisible pockets here on the front, like invisible fastening. Like, this looks really cool. I love the look of this. Again, it's maybe a little bit too a Cold War inspired, and maybe what's the other brand, like Afix is kind of giving a little bit of Afix in a Cold War, but I still do like the execution of that slide number 14. Again, the sweatsuit for me is not the greatest. The hoodie's all right, but the t-shirt graphics are pretty decent, which I think they do really well in. And this jacket is also a win. This kind of like Macintosh type of jacket, it looks like. It's really cool. I like the look of that with the embroidery on the front. And finally this as well with the bag. And that's something I have to highlight as well. I think the coolest thing that they did, definitely over the years that I've kind of seen them, or recently I guess seen them, was this little initiative they did with these bags. So I think it's this slide here I've got on this page. So this is from a while back. They did this initiative where they basically would give people these free messenger bag type things if you brought in a book that kind of inspired you or something that kind of meant something to you. So kind of a swap thing, which kind of reminded me a lot of my time when I went to Nicaragua, and I was kind of, doing a little bit of traveling around there. And a couple of the hostels I stayed in had that kind of system where if you wanted to take a book from their library, they have to kind of give a book, or you could give a book to kind of just say, yeah, this kind of meant something to me in my trip. And you usually kind of leave a note on the inside of it and just say, hey, this meant something to me. Hopefully you get something from it as well. And, that kind of book exchange sort of stuff is something that I've kind of loved over the years, kind of how I built up a lot of my collection of books as well that I'm kind of into. So I love the idea of it being just more than just the clothes and having something a little bit more depth to it. So this was really good that they did as well. That kind of got my attention. But again, I think if you're able to execute something like this with this kind of foresight and insight, I think you should do yourself a bit more of a service and have something more than just like the paneled, sweatsuit type of look thing. You can do more than that, I think. I think they've got more potential for it. So hopefully they're able to do that going forward. But so far, so good. The Autonomy collection is going to be available when? What does it say here? Any date here? Take a closer look. You keep an eye on the official brand for further releases. So adidas, it's not out yet at the moment, but you can take a look at them if need be. Take a look at it if need be. Moving on from that, what else I want to talk about here? Bear with me 1 second. We spoke about the Sambas. We got some news here, courtesy of Hypebeast, again regarding Aries, Clark's collaboration. I've been a little bit critical of the recent Aries collections. I feel like they've been a little bit lacking in any kind of inspiration and been a little bit all over the place, really and truly. But I really like this. I think these Clarks collaboration, they came out really, really, really good, shoe wise, and how they kind of did them. Again, Clarks shoes in general are hard for me to wear because I'm a heavy stepper. I'm out there in the streets every single day doing my do, and sometimes wearing crepe soles from Clarks on a daily basis, they wear down very quickly. And the last thing I like is having those things where your heels at the back are all slanted and look all weird because you've been wearing your shoes into the ground too long. So that's the only thing that I don't like about Clarks. But if you're able to have them in your rotation, I feel like there's nothing that kind of beats that look or that aesthetic in your stuff that you have, for sure. So I definitely loved what they have here. Got a pair of wallabies there that look really cool. Loads of great little bits and pieces on top there. It feels like there's some sort of illustration on the crepe sole. There may be a bit of pony hair here on the top of the toe box area. There's all these weird kind of accessories on the laces. Maybe there's actual laces that you can actually use. I'm not sure if they've been leather or if they're wax laces, but there's some beads on the end of them. I like the sock combo with the wallabies and some tags as well. So they kind of been covered with loads of weird haberdashery type shit in it. They kind of look like a random bar you'd walk into in Berlin or something that's been kind of spat all over the flipping Clarks, but I like them because they look very distinctive and kind of match, matches their Aries aesthetic. Even just the pictures themselves. So this picture of this lady having a pair of wallabies laced on her head like a hat. These look really, really cool. I like the whole editorial of what they did and how they put them together. So I like the look of these. These look really cool. I would like to see them regular, normal popped up pictures so you can get a look at them. There's also a long sleeve t-shirt, tie dye, of course. Aries kind of like, trademark here. So that looks really good. Let's see the text courtesy of flipping Hypebeast. Says Aries has turned up with Clarks originals and hits the road in this 2 reimagined Clarks models. The Desert Trip collection brings Aries' psychedelic touch to the Wallabies and the Desert Trek. The duo lands in the terrestrial or universal. The British photographer Douglas Irving pushes the collaboration into a dreamlike realm, traveling to Dungeness, coastlines in Kent. The Clarks Wallabies is captured on a maple combi suede uppers, long hair toe box, featuring beaded lace ornamentation and illustrative hand tags. They're going to be available for £180 for a pair of Clarks. Yo, 180. Jesus Christ. Don't get me wrong, they're really fucking nice. You're not going to... The good thing about these collabs, especially with brands like Clarks and Dr. Martens and stuff, like, you're not going to get these made GR, right? They're not going to suddenly have this colorway available to buy in the GR with this sort of like contrast stitching and shit. But 180 for a pair of Clarks is a little bit much, mate. Like, I'm not going to lie. As good as these look, it's a little bit much. These shaman Clarks, right? These bad energy Clarks, like, they do look fairly decent. I'm not going to, that's it called. Don't be square all over them. So yeah, fairly decent. But again, all over the place for me when it comes to Aries. Like, who would have guessed that this would have been a collab they would have put out? All over the fucking place. But me like it, all over the place and loud. What is saying here? Let's continue. Bubbity. Spoke about that, spoke about this. I want to cover these, of course. So these are already out, so, and they're already sold out, so I'm a little bit late on these, but I want to just like give, I want to give fucking Stussy their fucking flowers. Again, and they never miss. They never fucking miss. And this collaboration, a recent one with Nike, is another evidence of it. Nike and Stussy Vandals, absolutely incredible. I don't think anybody was thinking about Vandals before Stussy decided to collab with Nike and bring these back to prominence again. I remember wearing Vandals many years ago, back when I used to work at the fucking 1948 Nike store back then in Shoreditch times. Those shoes were flipping hot in the streets. A few of the people I used to work with in the store, specifically this guy called Miles, used to rock them amazingly well. He had actually these silver ones. This guy I used to work with, Miles, my friend, back in the day, used to wear them, and he used to make them look so good day to day. And I love the shape. Essentially, for me, they're kind of like a better extension of a kind of an Air Force One. I remember when I was first getting into shoes, I didn't really like Jordan 1s because I felt like the silhouette was too thin especially with my big heavy feet and shit. I like the sole to be a bit thicker. I like the toe box to be a bit wider, and I feel like the Jordan 1 silhouette was really, really thin. And I much preferred Air Force 1 highs to Jordan 1s. And another kind of compromise if I wanted a bit more of a sleeker silhouette instead of an Air Force 1 was to get a Vandal. And the Vandals looked amazing because they could be worn, you know, they had basically the perfect height in terms of a high. They kind of sat just above the ankle. You had the ability to kind of wear them with the strap and it didn't look dumb. Or you could wear the strap behind, you know, have them looped hanging off the back. Or you could take them off and it still look great. But I just loved how simple the colorways were. Like just these quintessential 80s easy colorways, 2 to 3 colors, really simple, nice contrasting swoosh, big panels that you can kind of, you know, impose here on the top to kind of keep it going. So when I saw that Stussy collabed with Nike on these, I was like, oh my god, these bring back so many great memories. And I just love what they did with them. They've got a pair that look like kind of a white colorway. They've got a navy one, and they've also got a black as well. And they've kind of been done in a very classic, easy colorway to see here. White and black, blue, nice kind of crisp white midsole. And what I also like about them is the extra laces. They've got some really cool extra laces on them that kind of spruce up the look, as you can see, all sold out in record time. And again, these are a shoe that aren't the most popular. They aren't like super hyped and stuff. This is like a heads shoe. And I also like the fact that the swoosh has been embroidered instead of being the regular swoosh what you'd have kind of on a regular Vandal, which is maybe like a leather with the, you know, with the bordering around it. This has kind of been embroidered, which kind of makes it look really, really cool. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Stussy type of script sign or whatever maybe, but this really looks good. So essentially, I think if we're looking at the upper, it looks like it's a cotton or like a hemp or something. I'm not too sure what the upper material is, but I do like the fact that the swoosh itself has been embroidered because you get this kind of like janky almost look to it, which I kind of like. It kind of looks a little bit sketchy and a little bit booky. I mean, a little bit fugazi. I'm not really too mad at that. The foam tongue is a nice little detail as well. The strap, back leather, heel tab is a nice little addition. Nice crisp blue outsole. You got the Stussy 8-ball logo on the tongue, which all the kids on TikTok seem to love this logo for some reason. I see kids painting this, making furniture out of this, like cutting the 8-ball on the side of their head. I honestly don't know why this fucking logo has captured the imagination of fucking teenagers on TikTok, but they love this Stussy 8-ball logo. They absolutely love it. Maybe it's a jumper, but anyway, yeah. And then you got the additional strap that comes with it with a pair of orange laces as well. But I feel like they look really great. The blues are probably the favorites, I think, for most people, but my favorite is definitely the black colorway. The black colorway is definitely my favorite, with this kind of like silver embroidered swoosh here on the side. They look so good, personally. I love the way they look here. So let's see the details actually. What is it? Is it brushed cotton? Is it hemp like I thought it was or not? Or am I mistaken? Again, the black on there looks so good. Let's see what they say on the details here on the page. Embroidered swoosh, nylon tongue with exposed foam detailing, 2 pairs of extra laces, extra ankle strap, faux leather, heel tab, hemp upper. Yeah, I knew it was hemp. I knew it was something like that. I should have called it. See, my sneaker knowledge is too good. Oh, look at the back detail too, with a massive silver heel tab. These look great. I'm sure most people watching this just probably won't like them, but I love the way these look, man. These look so amazing to me anyway, personally. But yeah, these look flipping great. I love the black colorway, but again, it doesn't matter what I think because look at that sign down below, mate. Sold out, all gone. 100 quid as well, absolute bargain. But yeah, Stussy don't miss. They don't get the credit they deserve because I guess there's a lot of people, you know, still slobbering on the knob of Ami Leon Dore and stuff. But Stussy know what they're doing when it comes to collabs. They never ever miss. They always flipping hard. They always flipping look really good, and they sell pretty well. Good retail price, easy to wear, just great fucking shoes. And again, I wish I actually had an idea of purchasing these, but these look really incredible. So big up Stussy for always putting together a decent flipping Nike collab and keeping their proverbial foot on these blood clot people's necks. Proverbial foot on their necks. Next on the list here that I wanted to mention was this, courtesy of Sneaker News. It looks like for me, maybe, this is odd to say because these are probably going to be the most expensive version of these shoes ever seen, especially with the lack of materials, but this might be the final nail in the coffin for Salomon shoes, or Salomon shoes, sorry, I always pronounce them wrong. Salomon shoes, because these Salomons, like if you live in, I don't know, in trendy parts of the world. I'm sure you've seen these shoes everywhere, and I felt like they've been absolutely rinsed, and I'm kind of over them already. But it looks like Margiela's latest iteration of these shoes, these kind of mules style of shoes, might be the final nail in the coffin. People might finally say enough is enough, because these look absolutely horrendous. I don't know whoever said they needed a pair of Salomon mules to go out and hiking and stuff, or to walk the dog or whatnot, but these are insanely diabolical. And they're probably going to be like £400 or something. These are absolutely heinous. So this is courtesy of Sneaker News. It says MM6 Maison Margiela Salomon XT4s in a mule. They were debuted recently during the Resort, I think, collection of MM6, which is the kind of diffusion line of Margiela. The black pair with the Margiela logo on the front of the toe is probably going to do crazy well because of how obvious the fucking logo is if you're into that sort of stuff. This colorway actually is absolutely beautiful. There's like a white with a green with a purple colorway. This is really nice, but again, it's a mule. So that mule type of style of shoe, I think, might be the final nail in the coffin for the fucking Salomon XTs in all their iterations. I'm fucking over them, because I don't know who needs a, exploring hiking boot or shoe or walking shoe in general with an exposed back. Are you meant to wear them without the socks? With the socks, I don't really know, but these are so heinous, they're so disastrous that I feel like this might be the final nail in the coffin for these shoes, hopefully, because they've just been everywhere. Like, I feel like every other second person I see down the street walking around has a pair on. I can kind of understand the utility of them, because they are really a kind of the best shoe to wear in a city like London or in a place like the UK, especially with our temperamental weather. It's always wet, it's always dreary and whatnot. So if you do need something to wear all day round, these are probably a good option, because they're essentially waterproof, water resistant. And for the most part, from what I've heard, once you break them in, they're really comfortable. But it just feels like every Tom, Dick and fucking Harry has a pair. Or as Brendan would say, every slapstick and Harry. They all have them. And I'm just tired. Like, enough. Can we each get our own kind of personalities and maybe think for ourselves and decide that we don't like them? Maybe that's a thing. But again, like I said, one of the colorways here, this kind of white and green colorway, is fucking banging. So if they could make this colorway in a regular model, fair enough, but I'm just fucking tired of the silhouette overall. I'm done with it. Please, finished, kill it, throw it in the bin, chuck it in the middle of the street, hang it up, lace them together and hang them off a fucking basketball hoop or something. But enough is enough. Please, enough. No more Solomons, no more Salomons, whatever they may be called. I do not care. It's over with them. It's done with them. Please leave it alone. Please, for the love of God, leave them alone. But again, when it comes to this sort of stuff, I don't really know much. I really, really, really don't know much. Then moving on from that one, quickly went to feature Bene Culture. Recent second summer drop here, courtesy of Hypebeast, which looks very decent. I have a couple of hoodies from Bene Culture that I got from my old workplace that I absolutely love, actually, especially this navy hoodie that I wear from time to time. That is really good quality, so I'm always kind of keeping an eye on Bene Culture. Actually, talking about tracksuits, I know I've written before, but this one on the right here looks really nice. I love how oversized the sweatpants are. To be fair, the color of the flipping jumper is really cool, and so is the logo. So maybe my kind of hesitancy on tracksuits is more so on the execution and not so much on the item itself. The t-shirt here on the right looks really great with the different eyes graphic. That's really nice. The short sleeve shirt type of thing, I'm not really too down for. Maybe it's more of a festival wear type of vibe, but I feel like, that season of me having like patterned shirts like that is probably over. But that t-shirt graphic looks really great. And again, of it in black, and the sweatpants again with the Bene Culture logo there on the side look fairly cool. Actually, I quite like that shirt. Now that model's wearing it on the left, I'll definitely wear the fuck out of that with the Bene Globe type of logo. I'm pretty much on that. I'm not gonna lie. That shirt looks really good. That's a very, very good festival season skank sort of shirt to have on. You know what I mean? Whilst I'm out there pretending to smoke cigarettes, coughing all over the place, coughing my lungs all over the fucking shirt, geeking off or whatever shit I may have ingested. That's actually maybe a good idea. So I actually do like the look of this second drop from them. When's it going to be available? It's probably available now already, isn't it, right? It's available from June 2nd. Should be available now on the website. Let's actually double check this and see what the prices are saying. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty decently priced. Last time I checked, Bene Culture don't, they don't kind of fleece their fucking customers. They do try and make it somewhat manageable. So let's see what the retail prices are saying on flipping Bene Culture's website here as I let it load up. You got the Globe logo, collection all. It's coming up here. It's coming. And yeah, okay, cool. Pretty decent. See, this is the brands I want to support. Brands like this. The sweatshirt is £45. The sweatpants are 40. The shirt that I wanted for like festival season is obviously sold out, which makes sense because it's only fucking £75, which is really good for like a a shirt from a independent, up and coming streetwear brand that you're not gonna see from any other brand out. It's not like buying a shirt from fucking, the high street brands or whatnot. It's something that's gonna be a little bit different from what you usually get from brands. The shirt with the eyes is 32. The one I said I wanted as well. That was nice. That's a good price as well for a t-shirt. Like Bene Culture got some really good prices here. They're incredibly underrated for what they do. I like what I'm seeing here. 32 for the t-shirt. Got another t-shirt here. A good little poster. Have you seen Bene Culture? A nice little starter pack for stickers, which you can stick some, DRGUSs in it. Nice hoodie. Some good little pants here. All round the pants. They look great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of all this shit. I'm not gonna lie. Bene Culture is pretty sick. Might have to give some of this stuff a look. Might have to open my flipping wallet and get some more of this stuff from them because this looks really nice. I like the look of this, really. That Hindi shirt logo is busting as well. I love the look of that. Also, this cactus logo as well looks pretty decent. But yeah, I'm a fan of that. That all-rounder jacket. Okay, all-rounder pants is the same print as this domino, maybe anorak, I think. Maybe that's a top and a bottom you can maybe put together. You know me, and I'm black. I like to have a little bit of a up and down sort of style of clothing. But yeah, Bene Culture looks pretty decent. Check it out if you haven't already. Cool little bits and pieces here. But of course, the standout definitely is this shirt, this button-up shirt, and this short sleeve shirt here on the right. They're definitely the ones that are holding it down for the entire collection. What else I want to talk about here? Oh yeah, I got this as well to talk about. This is courtesy of Hypebeast regarding Tyler creators FLEUR globe-trotting suitcases and shit. I don't know about these. I think obviously most of my knowledge on trunks and suitcases has come from Louis Vuitton. That's the only time I used to see them because I remember back in the day, Pharrell and Nigo would collect those things, and they obviously go for loads of money and they're very chic and shit. But I don't know. I've never in my head thought, oh, I want to take a briefcase on holiday with me to use as carry-on. I guess maybe because I'm so used to having like free-form bags that you can kind of stuff loads of shit into, and for some reason I feel like with a sort of trunk style of luggage, you won't be able to fit as much in it as you would with a traditional roller. Or maybe I'm mistaken. I'm not too sure. They do look really cool though. Tyler does a really good job of making a really nice trunk that you can go on holiday with. In terms of the design, I love the different leather patches here. Obviously, I guess to help in terms of it get transported around and spin. It's got wheels on it as well. So I love the mix of the, updating it with the wheels and the handle, but then having it look like a vintage trunk. And the good thing about these trunks, I'm imagining, the more you use it day in, day out, the more it gets kind of thrown around, by staff at the fucking airport and shit, the more it's going to look better. And you actually add some stickers on it and shit, or they stick stickers on it when you're going through the airport. Like, it looks fairly cool, but again, I don't know, day-to-day use, it'll be a bit of a change for me to start wearing trunks or to start carrying them day-to-day. Because I do want to get to a point in life where I'm able to go on holiday and actually pack for the weekend and have it all in a backpack. Because I admire those people so much who turn up to airports, they're waiting with you to board the plane and they just have a tote bag or like a really big duffel or something. You're like, fucking hell. I just checked in some luggage. I've got a backpack on me. I've got another carry. Like, I've got all this stuff. And you see these guys that just rock up like carefree, eating a sandwich, listening to something on the way, like just carefree with a little tote bag. Like, fucking hell, how do you do that? that's like magic to do that shit. I swear to God, yeah, Jackie Natashki knows. Checking in luggage is the worst. Especially me, I like to take outfits, especially when I go out. Like I'm the worst because I'll take luggage with me. I'll have outfits in mind that I'm gonna wear, and then when I get there, I just wear the same shit. So all that brain power used and stress to figure out what to wear day to day and end up wearing the same shit that I wear all the time. It's fucking annoying. I absolutely hate myself sometimes, but these look really cool. I like the look of these, actually. Let's read the article. It says, marking the duo's second collaboration, Tyler Creator and Globe-Trotter add a vibrancy to the latter's four-wheel trunks. The items are available in small and large sizes, featuring luxurious handmade leather exterior with deep boss straps in orange and blue. Pink, brown, and green corner covers protect your bag from external circumstances, while golden hardware accents every detail, including padded side locks and top harnesses. Inside, you'll find FLEUR signature pixelated leopard print alongside foiled branding and flexible clothing straps. Tyler creates FLEUR's Globe-Trotter collection, which will launch June 1st in store and online, both brands for $1,695. Oof, not cheap, innit? So small is 1,600 and large is 2,295, which is probably about the same price you're going to pay for a Rimowa. So I guess you just have to decide, are you a Rimowa person? Are you like a hard shell aluminium type person? Or are you a leather trunk styler person? You have to decide one or the other. I guess you're not going to be both, I'd imagine, unless you're spending fucking $5,000 on 2 pieces of luggage. That's pretty wild. But yeah, the prices, you know, are what they are. But I think in general, you're going to get a little use out of them. They're going to look a bit unique. And the good thing about them also, you're going to know instantly when someone steals your luggage, because there's not going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be carrying leather trunks with them on holiday and shit, especially not nowadays. So you do have that kind of protection. And like I said, I think with it being leather, over time, they're going to wear it. It's going to wear in so well. It's going to look a flipping amazing over time the more you flipping wear it and stuff. So I'm not mad at that in the slightest. I can't lie. I'm not mad at that in the slightest. Anyways, I think I'm done for now, my friends. That has been me ranting and raving about flipping clothes and nonsense things as per usual. Hopefully you have enjoyed the show for what it is for now. I hope that you have. If it's your first time checking out the show and you're watching this live, please do me a favor and like the stream. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you're listening to it after the fact via the podcast apps, all you have to do is leave me a 5-star review and I'll be more than grateful for that. But if you don't, I also understand. And I'll be back again very, very soon with more of these shows. But for now, if you listen to the show on audio, you shall hear my tune of the day coming in underneath. If you're watching this via the live stream, you won't hear nothing. It will just fade to black and I'll completely disappear. So thank you again for tuning in. Been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Big up the stream chat for tuning in as well. Appreciate all of you in there, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Peace and take care. Bye.